Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about compounds of hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen forms different types of compounds. First one we consider water molecule, right? And we know the formula for water H2O, two hydrogen atoms combined with a single oxygen. So this is a water molecule. As we know, the abundance of water molecule is more. Almost 70% of Earth's surface is covered by water molecules in the form of ocean. As well as when you consider human body, 65% water molecules present. So abundance of water is much, and water is an essential as well as important compound for the life on Earth. So preparation of water molecules we have already completed. When hydrogen combines with oxygen, it produces water molecule. The reaction is an explosive reaction. So preparation of water, yesterday we have completed. So today we are going to discuss about properties of water. And we know water is a colorless, odorless, tasteless, volatile liquid. So artificially we made a taste for water. The process is called UV treatment as well as ozonization. So you may observe mineral water bottles in which is mentioned as water, UV treated as well as ozonized. So water is a colorless and volatile liquid. Exactly at 100 degrees Celsius, water becomes water vapors. Next, generally water molecule has more melting as well as boiling point. This is mainly due to intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So one more question. We have to know what is hydrogen bonding. So from the name, we know that there is a bonding between hydrogen and a more electronegative atom. What about a hydrogen? Hydrogen is the least electronegative atom. When you take modern periodic table, hydrogen is a least electronegative element. According to Pauling scale, electronegativity of hydrogen is 2.1. And when we consider p block elements, their electronegativity value is more. When we move from left to right, electronegativity value increases. So that the halogens or oxygen, nitrogen, so these non-metals will have more electronegativity. We call them as heteroatoms: nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. So these heteroatoms are having more electronegativity. So between least electronegative hydrogen and the more electronegative heteroatoms, there is a force of attraction. We call it as hydrogen bonding. So this is one of the forms of dipole-dipole interaction. So in the next lesson we will discuss, in chemical bonding lesson, we will discuss about dipole-dipole interaction. You simply know that hydrogen bonding is a bonding between the least electronegative hydrogen and the more electronegative heteroatom, like oxygen or nitrogen or fluorine. So you may observe the water molecule, it has intermolecular hydrogen bonding. There are two types. Intramolecular is also possible, but in water, intermolecular hydrogen bonding. You know the meaning of inter. More than one will be there. Intra means within the same. You have heard the words intra-school competition, inter-school competition, like that. Inter-school competition means other school also will participate. In the same manner, intermolecular hydrogen bonding means more than one water molecules will be there. So between the water molecules, there will be hydrogen bonding. So in the picture, you may observe three water molecules. So we have three water molecules. So oxygen is a more electronegative heteroatom. Hydrogen is least electronegative atom. So between the least electronegative hydrogen and the more electronegative oxygen, there is a force of attraction. We call it as hydrogen bonding, right? So this is another hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding. This is hydrogen bonding. So in between the water molecules, hydrogen bonding exists, right? So this hydrogen bonding is responsible for the existence of water in the form of a liquid. So think about the world without liquid water, we cannot survive, right? For our survival, we need liquid water molecule. We don't want water vapors or ice. So we need water molecules at room temperature at 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. We need more quantity of liquid water. So this intermolecular hydrogen bonding is responsible for the existence of water as a liquid water molecule, right? And due to this intermolecular hydrogen bonding, melting point as well as boiling point have increased for water molecule. So with this physical properties over, next we move into chemical properties. So in chemical properties, we are going to discuss the reaction of water with metals, non-metals, some compounds, some covalent compounds. So all these will be discussed. First, reaction of water with alkali metals. What are alkali metals? Group 1 elements are alkali metals: lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium. So these are group 1 elements. They are generally alkali metals. Now water molecule is reacting with alkali metals even at cold condition, right? Even if the temperature is lower than the room temperature, the reaction will take place to liberate hydrogen with the formation of sodium hydroxide. So we have taken sodium metal, water molecule combines with the sodium metal, it produces sodium hydroxide with the liberation of hydrogen gas. So this reaction will take place even at low temperatures, even in cold condition. Next, reaction of water with alkaline earth metals. What about the group number for alkaline earth metal? Group number 2. Beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, radium. So these are the members of group number 2. They are called alkaline earth metals. Now except beryllium, remaining alkaline earth metals will react with water. Okay. So we take barium as an example. Barium combines with water molecule, it produces barium hydroxide with the liberation of hydrogen. Now this is not a violent reaction, so this is a less violent reaction. It produces hydroxide with the liberation of hydrogen gas. Next, with transition metals. Usually at ordinary temperature, the reaction will not take place between the water and the transition metals. What about the group number for transition metals? Group number 3 to 12. They are called D block elements or transition elements. So usually at ordinary temperature, the reaction will not take place. That means we have to take hot water or else steam will be passed over the transition metals to give the product. Now with transition metals, we will get oxides, right? Now with alkali metal and alkaline metal, we obtained hydroxides like sodium hydroxide and barium hydroxide. But in case of transition metals, if the reaction takes place between the water and the metal, we get oxide. So consider the transition metal iron. When steam is passed over iron, steam means around 100 degrees Celsius, water molecule is combining with the metal. So it produces iron oxide with the liberation of hydrogen. So at ordinary temperature, the reaction will not take place. Next, one more more questions. Lead as well as copper, these two are transition metals, right? These two are D block element. Lead as well as copper will react with water at very high temperature. So we usually say the word red hot or white hot means at very high temperature only lead as well as copper will react with water molecules. Next one, important one more. We know the noble metals. So what are the noble metals? Gold, silver, platinum. So these are used for making ornaments, right? So gold, silver, platinum, generally they are called noble metals. Their reactivity is less. So these noble metals and mercury will not react with water. Right. So there is a thermodynamical consideration for this. For each reaction, it should be a thermodynamically favorable one. It should be a thermodynamically feasible one. So when you take water as well as gold, the reaction will not take place. So that we use gold ornaments for a longer period, right? Practically, the reaction of water with the gold will not take place. So there is no corrosion. So when you use gold, even water molecules are attached on the surface of gold, there won't be any corrosion because this is not a thermodynamically favorable one. Delta G value will be positive. We will study in thermodynamics lesson, 7th lesson. Delta G, free energy change, should be a negative for feasible reaction or a spontaneous reaction. But in case of gold with water or silver with water, platinum with water or mercury with water, delta G value will be a positive. So thermodynamically, the reaction is not a feasible one. So water will not react with these noble metals as well as mercury. Next, reaction with non-metals, one mark. Generally, the non-metals like sulfur, phosphorus, carbon will not react with water molecule at ordinary temperature, right? So generally reaction will not take place, but at high temperature, reactions may take place. Yesterday we discussed. When steam is passed over the coke in shift converter at 400 degrees Celsius using copper or iron as a catalyst, we get water gas. So yesterday we have studied the reaction, how to get water gas, right? Then that will be shifted into carbon dioxide. So this equation we studied already. So usually carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, these non-metals will not react with water, but at a high temperature, carbon will react with water. So we call them as red hot carbon or white hot carbon. At high temperature, water will combine with this. It produces a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. So we call the mixture as water gas or synthetic gas or syngas. So reaction of non-metals. So we may consider halogen with water. So how the halogens are reacting with the water? First one, chlorine. So chlorine combines with water molecule. It produces acids like hydrochloric acid and hypochlorous acid. Right? So this is hydrochloric acid HCl. This is hypochlorous acid. Okay. So what is the action of chlorine in water? Chlorine is having a bleaching action. We studied already. So when chlorine powder is added with water, it just kills microorganisms like bacteria. So it has a bleaching action. So this is mainly due to what? When chlorine is added with water, it forms hydrochloric acid. So hydrochloric acid kills microorganisms. So this is having antibacterial action. Simply we call this as a bleaching action, right? So chlorine combines with water, it produces hydrochloric acid and hypochlorous acid. This is having a bleaching action as well as antibacterial action. Next halogen, fluorine. So this is a violent reaction. Usually when fluorine is combining with any substance, the reaction will be a violent reaction. So mostly it leads to explosion. So when fluorine reacts with water, it produces hydrofluoric acid, HF. Right? So it produces HF with the liberation of oxygen. Fluorine combines with water, it produces oxygen with the formation of hydrofluoric acid. Next, reaction of metal carbonate with water. So you may take any metal carbonate like sodium carbonate or potassium carbonate. So with this, water molecule will react, it produces bicarbonate. Sodium bicarbonate or potassium bicarbonate will be produced along with hydroxide ion. So now the solution becomes basic in nature. Due to the presence of hydroxide ion, the solution becomes alkaline in nature. So with the carbonate, water molecule produces bicarbonate ion along with hydroxide ion. Next is a 3 more question. Prove that water is an amphoteric oxide. Yesterday also we discussed Beryllium hydroxide is an amphoteric hydroxide which combines with both acid as well as base. So now we are going to prove that water is an example for amphoteric oxide. So water is nothing but hydrogen oxide. Hydrogen and oxygen combine together to produce hydrogen oxide. So this is an amphoteric oxide. It has both acidic nature as well as basic nature. It is an example of acidic oxide as well as basic oxide. We have to explain this based on concept of acids and bases. So in 12th standard you will study different concepts. So according to Bronsted-Lowry concept, if any substance gives H plus ion, H plus means proton. If any substance gives H plus or proton, which is called acid. If any substance gains H plus or proton, which is called what? Base. So we are going to apply this concept here. So we have a theory called Bronsted-Lowry theory. According to the theory, a substance gives H plus ion is called acid. The substance gains H plus ion is called a base. So as I said, water is an example of amphoteric oxide. So in some reactions which is behaving as acid, it gives H plus. In some reactions it behaves as a base, it gains H plus. So we have evidences. First one, reaction of water with ammonia. We get the product ammonium ion with the liberation of hydroxide ion. Now what is the role of water here? Will it act as acid or base? Now water molecule gives H plus ion. Water molecule is separated into H plus and OH minus, so that water produces H plus ion. The H plus ion combines with ammonia, it forms a product NH4 plus ammonium ion. So remaining water molecule becomes what? OH minus. So in the first reaction, when ammonia combines with water molecule to produce ammonium ion and hydroxide ion, the role of water is acid. It provides H plus ion or proton. Think about second reaction. When hydrochloric acid reacts with water, it produces hydronium ion and chloride ion. H3O plus is called a hydronium ion. Now in this case, this hydrochloric acid is separated into H plus and Cl minus. Now water molecule is gaining the H plus. So in the second reaction, the role of water is a base. So it absorbs or it gains H plus from hydrochloric acid. So this is an example of base. So water is an example for amphoteric oxide in some reactions which provides H plus ion so that it is acting as an acid. In some reactions it gains H plus which is acting as a base. Next, reaction of water with some covalent compounds. For example, silicon tetrachloride as well as phosphorus pentoxide. SiCl4 is called silicon tetrachloride. When it combines with two molecules of water, it produces silica. SiO2 means silica or silicon dioxide with the liberation of 4 molecules of hydrochloric acid. This is called phosphorus pentoxide, P2O5, or it can also be written as P4O10. So this phosphorus pentoxide reacts with water molecule, it produces phosphoric acid or orthophosphoric acid. So H3PO4 is called phosphoric or orthophosphoric acid. So water molecule produces different compounds with covalent substances. Next one, formation of hydrated crystals. Okay, in laboratory we are going to prepare a substance, right? An inorganic substance is going to be prepared in the laboratory. So you are getting a solution. During the preparation, finally you are getting a solution. You need the substance in the form of crystal. For further study, we need the product or the substance you want should be in the crystal form. Then we do the process called crystallization process. That means we cool. Slowly we allow the solution to cool. The substance will be obtained in the form of a crystal. right? So first you have to know what is crystallization. So crystallization is the process of getting a substance in the form of a crystal. So solid is of two types: crystalline solid and amorphous solid. You will study in 12th, right? Rubber, glass, polymers are examples of amorphous solids. Sodium chloride, potassium nitrate. So these inorganic compounds are crystalline solids. So in the laboratory, when you do a reaction, the final product or the substance may be obtained in the form of a solution. When we allow them to cool slowly, we get a crystal. The process called crystallization process. So what happens during the crystallization process? If water molecule is there, solution means mostly water will act as a solvent. So during the crystallization process, water molecule will make two type of bond with other elements. Water will make two type of bond. One is it can make coordinate covalent bond. In the 10th lesson we will study, right? What is coordinate covalent bond? It can make coordinate covalent bond. This is one way. Another way, it won't create any bond. It is just present in the interstitial position. Interstitial position means between the two elements, the water molecule will be present. So the position is called interstitial position, right? So we do crystallization process. That means a solution will be converted into a crystal by a slow cooling process. During the crystallization process, the water molecule will create two type of force of attraction with other elements. Either it can make a coordinate covalent bond with other elements, or it will be present in the interstitial position. A very weak force of attraction will be there between the water molecule and the other elements when it is present in the interstitial position. So two possibilities are there. We have three examples. In the three examples, we are going to explain how much water molecules are created a coordinate covalent bond, how much water molecules are present in the interstitial position. So in the three examples we are going to explain. First one, take coordination compound. This is called a coordination compound, right? So the name of the coordination compound is hexa aqua chromium 3 chloride. In 12th you will study. So here we have 6 molecules of water. 6 water molecules. Now the 6 water molecules have created a coordinate covalent bond with this metal. So this is chromium 3 plus metal ion. With this metal ion, 6 water molecules have created 6 coordinate covalent bond, right? Take the second example, beryllium chloride dihydrate. This is the name, beryllium chloride dihydrate. That means now barium is bonded with only 2 chlorine atoms. It does not make any bond with water molecule, but water molecule is just present in the interstitial position, right? So second is an example in which water molecule is present in the interstitial position. It does not make any coordinate covalent bond. So take the third example. Here totally we have 5 water molecules. Out of 5 water molecules, 4 water molecules have made 4 coordinate covalent bond with this metal ion. This is called a Cu2 plus cupric ion. With the Cu2 plus cupric ion, 4 water molecules have made coordinate covalent bond. Remaining 1 water molecule is just present in the interstitial position, but this is responsible for intermolecular hydrogen bonding. With one more complex, it will make hydrogen bonding, right? So like this molecule, another molecule may be there. Between these two, intermolecular hydrogen bonding is possible. So hydrated crystal means a substance will be obtained in the form of crystal in which water molecules may be there. This is called hydrated crystals. So during the crystallization process, water molecule will make two possibilities. One is it can make a coordinate covalent bond, or else it may be present in the interstitial position. For that we have seen 3 examples, right? So we will do recapitulation. So compounds of hydrogen. So hydrogen forms different compounds. Today we discuss about water molecule. The abundance of water is much. Almost 70% of Earth's surface is covered by water in the form of ozone, as well as in human body almost 65% water molecule is there. And water is a colorless volatile liquid. It has high melting as well as boiling point. It has intermolecular hydrogen bonding, so that it is existing in the form of liquid. It has more melting as well as boiling point. Hydrogen bonding is nothing but a bonding between the least electronegative hydrogen with more electronegative heteroatoms like oxygen, fluorine, and nitrogen. Chemical properties of hydrogen. Hydrogen combines with alkali metals even in cold condition to produce hydroxide with the liberation of hydrogen. Next, except beryllium, one more question. Remaining alkaline earth metals will react with water. It produces hydroxide with the liberation of hydrogen. Next, a reaction of water molecule with transition metals. With the transition metals, it produces oxides, not hydroxides. So, usually hot water will react with the transition metal, or steam will be passed over the transition metals to get the product. So, we get iron oxide as well as hydrogen when water molecule reacts with iron. So, some metals will react with water at very high temperatures, like red hot or white hot iron. So, lead as well as copper are the transition metals which will react with water at very high temperatures. Then the noble metals like silver, gold, platinum as well as mercury will not react with water. Next, reaction with non-metals. Generally the non-metals like sulfur, phosphorus, carbon will not react with water at ordinary temperature, but at high temperature carbon will react with water. So at 400 degrees Celsius, when steam is passed over carbon in a Swift converter, this carbon will be converted into carbon monoxide and hydrogen. So this is called a water gas. Next, reaction of halogens with water. So when chlorine reacts with water, it produces hydrochloric acid and hypochlorous acid. This acid formation is responsible for antibacterial as well as bleaching action of chlorine in water. Next, fluorine violently reacts with water. It produces hydrofluoric acid with the liberation of oxygen. Then metal carbonates will react with water. It produces bicarbonate, which is alkaline in nature due to the presence of hydroxide ions. Water is nothing but a hydrogen oxide, which is amphoteric in nature, so which is behaving as acidic as well as basic. For that, we have two examples. When ammonia combines with water, it forms ammonium ion and hydroxide ion, in which water molecule provides H plus ion, which provides proton. So if any substance gives H plus, which is called acid, so water is acidic oxide in first reaction. Second reaction, when hydrochloric acid is added with water, it forms hydronium ion and chloride ion. It shows that water molecule gains a H plus ion or a proton from hydrochloric acid. So here it is acting as a base, so basic oxide. So water is an example for amphoteric oxide. Next, water molecule is reacting with some covalent compounds like silicon tetrachloride as well as phosphorus pentoxide. It provides a different type of compounds. Next, crystallization is a process of obtaining a substance in the form of crystal. For further study, what about the structure of crystal? So, which can be studied using some X-ray diffraction patterns. So, always for further studies, we need the substance in the form of crystal. So, during crystallization process, water will make two type of attachment with the other elements. Either it can make coordinate covalent bond or it may be present in the interstitial portion. Three examples. First one, hexa aqua chromium 3 chloride. Here 6 water molecules are bonded with chromium 3 plus ion by coordinate covalent bond. But in second example, barium chloride dihydrate, 2 water molecules are present in the interstitial portion alone. But in the third example, tetra aqua copper 2 sulfate monohydrate. So here totally 5 water molecules present. Out of 5 water molecules, 4 water molecules are bonded with Cu2 plus cupric ion by means of coordinate covalent bond. Remaining 1 water molecule is present in the interstitial position, which is responsible for intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So with this, today we have completed water molecule, right? Properties of water molecule we have completed. Okay, tomorrow we will meet. Thank you.